Welcome back to Whispers from Wren. Tonight's whisper is a little different from our usual fare. No ghosts, no dark roads, no strangers in the night. Tonight's whisper is about something far more satisfying than fear. Tonight's whisper is about revenge. Slow, methodical, devastating. Perfectly legal revenge. Served ice cold after 2 years of patience. Settle in, because this one is going to make you smile. He moved into a suburban neighborhood expecting peace and quiet. What he got instead was Todd. Todd was the HOA president, and Todd was the worst kind of leader, the kind who loved power but hated accountability. He fined residents $200 for leaving their trash cans out a minute past 9 in the morning, but his own yard? A mess of unpermitted structures. His own fence, taller than city ordinances allowed. Todd's true sin? Using the HOA as his personal piggy bank. Our storyteller found this out the hard way. His fence was slightly off color because the approved stain wasn't available. He explained, provided receipts, asked for leniency. Todd smirked. Rules are rules. $500 fine. That smirk was Todd's first and most catastrophic mistake, because in that moment, something shifted. He didn't get angry, he didn't argue, he made a plan. Todd's first mistake was underestimating him. He volunteered for the HOA board, played the part of the eager, naive newcomer perfectly. For 2 years, he attended every single meeting, said little, watched everything, took detailed notes. He learned how Todd operated, how he controlled the board by bullying other members, how he pushed through votes when only his allies were present, how he conveniently lost paperwork from anyone who disagreed with him. He kept his head down and waited. And then he discovered Todd's second mistake. Todd wasn't just a bully. Todd was a thief. Something didn't add up. The HOA fees were noticeably higher than in similar neighborhoods, but the common areas were falling apart. The pool closed half the summer, the landscaping untouched for months. He asked for the budget at a meeting. Todd laughed it off. "Don't worry, I've got it under control." He filed a formal request for the financial records. Weeks went by. Nothing. So he started talking to neighbors. He wasn't the only one suspicious. Over a dozen homeowners had requested the budget over the years and been ignored. One neighbor said Todd had used HOA funds to install a new patio at his own house. Another swore he'd seen Todd's kids at the pool during its so-called maintenance closure. He filed a formal complaint. Todd stalled, but this time there was no walking away. When the documents finally arrived, they were a disaster. Invoices missing. Payments mislabeled, a $15,000 landscaping fee paid to a company that didn't exist, thousands in administrative costs with zero explanation. He cross-referenced the HOA's bank statements with public records, and there it was, the smoking gun. Todd was funneling money directly into his personal accounts. It got worse. Todd had been inflating contractor fees, pocketing the difference, and splitting the profits with a shady contractor friend who handled most of the HOA's maintenance. He compiled everything. Spreadsheets, photos, notarized statements. He was ready. The annual HOA meeting was typically attended by a handful of half-asleep homeowners. Not this time. In the weeks before, he knocked on doors. Said just enough to make people angry, just enough to make them curious, just enough to make sure they showed up. The room was packed. Todd took the floor like always, droning on about sacrifice and community. That's when he stood up. "Can you explain some discrepancies in the budget?" Todd laughed nervously. "I don't think this is the time or place." He looked at him steadily. "Actually, Todd, it's the perfect time. He handed copies of his report to everyone in the room. People started reading, then whispering, then shouting. By the end of the night, Todd was out. After Todd's removal, an independent auditor confirmed everything. $50,000 embezzled, tens of thousands more mismanaged, multiple counts of fraud. The case went to the police. A civil lawsuit filed to recover the stolen funds. Todd's contractor ally was exposed and banned from doing business in the county. Todd had to sell his house to pay restitution and legal fees. His name became a joke in the neighborhood. Nobody would touch him professionally. With Todd gone, the HOA was restructured from the ground up. Term limits, financial transparency, an online portal so every homeowner could see exactly where their money was going. Every time he walks past Todd's old house, now owned by a lovely family, he smiles. The pool is open. The landscaping is beautiful. The HOA fees are lower than they have ever been. Todd, meanwhile, moved to a neighboring town, where he reportedly tried to join another HOA board, only to be laughed out of the room when someone Googled his name. Justice wasn't just served. It was plated, garnished, and savored. Let's talk about what made this remarkable. There are 100 ways this story could have gone differently. He could have confronted Todd publicly and been dismissed. He could have complained to neighbors and been labeled a troublemaker. Instead, he did something much harder. He waited. 2 full years on that board. 2 years of watching someone he despised, taking notes, saying nothing, while quietly building a case Todd couldn't escape. That takes a kind of patience most of us don't have. When someone wrongs us, the instinct is to react immediately, to confront, to make noise. He made no noise. He made a file. And when the time came, in a packed room with the evidence in everyone's hands, Todd had no move left to make. The comments on this story were overwhelmingly satisfying, though one thread stood out. Several people pointed out that Todd never went to prison, that he simply paid back the money and walked away. One commenter put it bluntly, steal $500 in groceries, go to jail. Embezzle $50,000, just pay it back. The reply, jail exists for the poor. That's the whole reason the rich created it. And another, if the punishment for a crime is a fine, that's something that only affects a working person. A rich person can commit the crime with no hesitation because they can afford the punishment. It's a frustrating truth that sits at the edge of this story. The revenge was real. The consequences were real. Todd lost his home, his standing, his career. But he didn't lose his freedom. Whether that feels like enough, Wren will leave that verdict to you. That's today's Whisper. A $500 fine for the wrong shade of fence stain. 2 years of patience, of note-taking, of waiting. A packed room, a report in every hand, a vote, and a man who spent years making his neighbors' lives smaller, finally made very, very small himself. Drop your verdict in the comments. Was the revenge enough? Or did Todd deserve more? More whispers are coming. Follow Wren so you never miss one. I'll see you in the shadows.